I will not be taking my money out of the market now, but I have invested when things were really horrible, and I've invested when things were really great, because what I've learned is that it's not about the timing of the market that matters. It's about my behaviors. The part that I can control is always the part that I have to do with money. So just like in the Get the Hell Out of Debt program, we would say, you can't control the economy, especially right before the pandemic. I remember I had a big meeting with everybody in the program, and I went on a live, and we were just talking about this with Rosanna the other day on a different podcast. And she says, I remember when you told us all after it was a 2-week lockdown, and you said, this is going to be 18 months. And so, I gave everybody that big lecture, but I continued to invest through that whole time while other people I know pulled their money out of the market. And I did very, very well. I continued, because I said the part that you can control is the amount that you put into the market, the contributions that you put into the market. Now you can control certainly by taking out, but we just don't know the timing of when to get back in. That's just the tricky part.
Yeah.
And so because I have a long time horizon before I'm an old wrinkly raisin, I'm going to continue to just invest. Now that's my strategy. Tell me, what was life like for you before Get the Hell Out of Debt?
Well, before Get the Hell Out of Debt, I really was living paycheck to paycheck like everybody else, and kind of had that set as my mentality, is like there would never be enough. Things were going on credit card. I was, a little bit in debt, quite a lot in debt, and just never seeing any way out, really. Like, I just figured this was always going to be the way it was.
And like, was there a moment where you decided, okay, that's enough, like I want to change this? Or like, what made you decide to take the Get the Hell Out of Debt program?
Well, I met you through a different program first, and because of that, I got access to Get the Hell Out of Debt for free, and I'm a sucker for a bargain. And so that was like obviously super helpful. And then as we got going in the course, and it was just realizing more and more all the things I didn't know. And that really was a motivator to be like, how could these people pull the wool over my eyes, kind of thing.
These people being like the banks, you mean, and like the financial
Yes,
institutions? Yeah.
definitely.
It is kind of like we're just walking through life innocently, and then they put a bag over our head and
Yes.
kidnap us in a van and demand our money, isn't it?
But it's a little bit more like the bag is clear and the van is a really nice limousine, and they're treating you, like you're special or something. But in all reality, it's not.
Oh, I have like visions of us like in a screenplay, you know what I mean? But like the other characters would probably be, instead of it being like The Rock or whatever, it'd be more like Will Ferrell and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like just silliness, just total silliness.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about like, what were some of the major, like when you said like all the things you didn't know, what were some of the major aha moments or the major surprises for you in terms of what you didn't know financially?
Definitely like some of your little catchphrases. Like, I liked knowing what mortgage means in Latin. I like that it means death pledge, because that really feels appropriate.
Yeah.
That the banks want, what is it, like 7 layers of penetration or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, just, I don't like feeling like I'm being taken, like for a sucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the layers of penetration thing is interesting. You bring up such a good point. It is 5 layers of penetration, but
Oh,
if they penetrated you 7 layers,
God,
they really got you, right?
one's too many.
So what Dawn means, if you're listening, is that a bank's ultimate goal, or a lending institution, their ultimate goal is to penetrate you 5 times. That's, I don't know how else to word this, but like they want your bank account, obviously, like your checking or your savings account. Then they want a credit card from you. You'll notice that's one of the first things that you get an application for once you have a bank account. Then they want some kind of loan. So they'll want like a car loan, or they'll give you a line of credit or something like that. They definitely want your mortgage. That's like a really, really big one. And then like, of course, they'll try and sell you overdraft or like all kinds of other little things to go with it. And once they have 5 layers of penetration, that's the statistic, they know you're probably a client for life. And once your 5 layers penetrate, there's no way to say this elegantly. We got to come up with a better word, but once they've got you 5 layers, they know it's really difficult for you to leave. And that's where most clients end up staying. And they know you're not going to shop around. So even though another bank might have a better offer in terms of like, maybe there's no fees on the bank account or something like that, they know you're not going to leave because it's going to be such a pain for you to move all of your banking over, especially if you have auto withdrawals. So we do talk about the layers of penetration and stuff. And so that, I think a lot of people too, when they hear that, they're like, oh, no wonder.
Yeah.
And when you go into the bank, like, let's say you want to, let's say you bank at financial institution A, but you get a mortgage through financial institution B. Financial institution B is now going to try, once they have your mortgage, to try and get all the other layers over with them. And so you really start to see now, once you're doing the program and you're paying off your debt and you go into the institutions, you really start to see how when they look up your profile, in air quotes, what they're really looking for is like, how can I penetrate her, right? Like, how can I take more money? Because they get a bonus in a lot of cases. The bankers get a bonus from this. So it does feel really gross, and it does make us feel a little bit like a sucker. And it can seem like the banks really care.
Mm-hmm.
Teller or the person, the banking person really cares. And in a lot of cases they do. They actually might love their job and they really do believe they're doing what's in your best interest. But from the larger picture, they absolutely are not. They are trying to get your business so that the bank can get more profit. So
And they make it feel like it's so convenient for you. Like, how lucky are you that you can have all of these services in one place?
That is such a good point, because I remember an old friend of mine. He's so cute. He's so funny. He was probably 30 years old at the time. Gosh, time flies. We're getting so old. Anyway, he was talking about how he, like, full disclosure, I'm a licensed mortgage broker, and we were talking about mortgages. This is like years and years ago, 15 years ago now. And he said, oh, I really want my mortgage with X bank. And I said, why that bank? They notoriously have the highest interest rates and the worst terms. And he said, oh, I just like all of my banking in one place.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, well, let me calculate for you what that's going to cost you. So we run the numbers based on the amortization he wanted, the terms of the mortgage that he, wanted, and then the rate compared to another institution that's a little bit better. And in order for him to do his online banking, it was going to cost him $70,000 over the life of that loan to have the online banking. Because
right?
Yes, but it's just like little bits at a time. So you think, oh, it's just like $10 here or whatever for this convenience, but it's compounded in, and capitalized into a loan somehow or other. And it's cost so much more, where if he'd gone to a different institution. So I said to him, if I give you $70,000 to add an extra login to your life once a week or once a month, would you take it? He's like, yes. I was like, then don't go with that bank for the mortgage. So we don't often consider those huge costs when it comes to convenience.
No, we really don't.
Yeah. What were some of the things that you were surprised you were able to do?
Well, I was surprised I was able to pay it all off in 2 years and 2 months.
Are you comfortable saying the amount?
Well, I was just looking at it yesterday, actually, over some of my notes. So when I initially started, and it's going to be approximate because I never actually added it all up for specifics, but I had a line of credit, I had 2 credit cards, and I had a loan on my car. And all told was probably close to $28,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, unfortunately, but kind of fortunately, over the time of Get the Hell Out of Debt, I did acquire more debt. So it probably ended up being like probably $33,000 that I paid off altogether.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Okay, but tell me about that, because I think that's important. I don't think we should gloss over that, because what often happens is you start a process and you're going along, and then either something changes or there's a circumstance that's an obstacle and you go back into a little more debt. And in that case, a lot of people like just abandon and quit. And in some cases, it's not even like an obstacle. It's like a self-sabotage where people go, this is so hard, forget it. I want to go to Mexico, right? So tell me a little bit about how the 28 turned to 33 before it got to 0.
Well, partially due to investing, because I'm single mom. So just for taking out a loan for to put money towards investing, I knew I would get the majority of that back with my income tax return. So it was a good trade-off, I suppose you could say. Like I went into it knowing what I was doing. And then there were the times where I didn't plan well enough with my budget, and things just popped up, and I could have used my quick and dirty fund. I have a really difficult time taking the money out of my quick and dirty fund and using it. Like there were many times where I put stuff on my credit card and then just waited to pay it off because I didn't want to see that number go down.
Do you want more? I know you do. Why wouldn't you want more?
More what? What do I want more of?
More of this. Come hang out in the online course for Get the Hell Out of Debt. The link is in the description. You just got to click it, sign up, and we'll see you in there. There's probably, I would say, 15 to 20% of the participants in the course get like that. So we start off the program and we make you put together this fund called the Quick and Dirty Fund. It's also in the book if you've read the book. But because most people are like, they work hard to make that happen, then the thought of using it, they're like, I can't, like, it's like the sacred money. And that's what it's there for, is so that you don't use your credit card. But I think it's so adorable that you were like, I can't. That happens sometimes. It's okay. If that's you, no shame, no shame.
It's just so silly. And you know what, I even like I did that last month, you know, I was all good for Christmas and whatever, but then we traveled and I just didn't have budget in enough for gas. And like, yeah, it probably was somewhere in a different account, but it was minus 30 bajillion and I'm standing at the pumping the gas and like, I don't care right now. I need to put it on something and get back in the car. It's cold out here.
That is the problem with Canada. I wonder, actually, it would be so fun to know like how much of Canadians or anybody that lives in like the cold, you know, like maybe Midwest USA or whatever, right? But like anybody that lives in a cold temperature, I wonder how much of their debt is a percentage because it's a convenience cost because nobody wants to be, or same in the hot climates too, right? Where it's so hot, you're like, I just need to get inside to the AC.
Right.
There's probably like a percentage that we're all like, there's a, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'll behave at 10 degrees. I'll behave at 0 degrees, but at minus 15, all budgets are off, right?
That's right. Where your comfort zone is set.
Yeah, that's hilarious. And that's how they should market. Instead of having credit cards like in the college hallways, they should put them at the gas pumps at minus 15 and be like, here, I'll spot you. Fill this out in your car. Fill this app out in your car on your phone.
Right.
Very funny.
Yeah.
So what was okay, so then there was the bump in the radar and then you started to gain momentum again. So what were some of the practices that you put in place that helped you pay off that 30,000 bucks?
Well, initially I called all of my service whatever things and negotiated as best as I could for better deals. So I switched our mine and the kids' cell phone plans over and saved money there per month. I called my internet provider and got that dropped down and saved money there. And then it was being really mindful. Like I have some very threadbare clothes to the point where I have an extra pair of sweatpants at work because I know these jeans are going to rip out on me one day. And until they do, I'm going to keep wearing them.
Amazing.
Gotta be prepared for those circumstances. So I didn't buy any new clothes. I might have had to buy like a pair of running shoes or whatever. I stopped going out for Friday night drinks after work. I am a sort of gardener, vegetable preserver.
What do you mean sort of? It's one of your primary things that you do for work and you do it on the side. You were like a 24/7. That's like me saying sort of in the financial industry.
Okay, I'm an urban homesteader, and so I do can and grow a lot of my food. So that was a big one for me as well. Although there is expenses to that. I'm a little bit of a hoarder of mason jars that I find on the buy and sell. And then it was learning a little bit about why I spend that money. Like And I, like you say, I didn't get into debt by purchasing one thing for $28,000. I got into debt $5 and $10 at a time. Yeah.
That's mostly how it happens for people. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I did all those things. I work extra jobs, and I always have. I teach gymnastics, I teach dance, I have some gardening side jobs that I do. So I have probably 4 or 5 sidey jobs on top of my regular full-time job, but I had those before I started the course as well. So where that money used to go, I'm not really sure, but I know where it goes now. And then I started selling stuff. I did 1 month where I had to make money every day, and even if it was just $1. And so I sold things on our local buy and sell site on Facebook. And at that month, I made $438. Just
Wow.
yeah. And some days it was just $1, right? I didn't care. And then for about 6 weeks or so, I normally bake bread every Sunday anyway for my family. And then I just baked extra, and I sold cheesy garlic sticks, or I sold pizza buns, and just to friends of mine on Facebook. I posted it one time, and then I just had repeat customers that I sold out every other time without posting. And so that was a little bit of extra towards. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing. So what is okay, you're debt free now. Well, you've been debt free for a little while now.
Yeah.
What is your kind of goal for the next 3, 5, 10 years, financially speaking?
Oh, to be more financially literate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. I know I don't know enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's better than not knowing that you don't know enough. But now I actually know I don't know enough. So, you can seek out information. And then it's building wealth. I don't want my kids to have to look after me, and I don't want my kids to have to worry. And this whole last couple of years of going through this, and especially during a pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I broke my foot in there, and I was not mobile for 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah. How did you break it?
I jumped in my garage when I wasn't wearing any shoes, and I landed on top. It's just really stupid.
I just remember it was something funny. It was something just a freak accident, right? It was just a little, you never know when stuff like that's going to happen, right? So,
right?
yeah. Okay, sorry to bring it up.
Sorry, but because of the pandemic, so some of my extra jobs dried up. Gymnastics wasn't in person. My hours dropped in lots of places. So yeah, it took a little bit longer than I was hoping, but anyways, I did it. And so now I want to build more wealth. I want to know more about investing. I want to understand even more about the markets and the movement, and can I cash out my mutual funds and put them into cash, because maybe I think that they're going to be cheaper a year from now, and take all that money and put them back into my mutual funds. I need to know.
Wait, before anybody, okay, I know you're just okay, but we got to talk about that. We got to talk about that right now, because somebody else is wondering that too right now. Okay, so
in my dreamland, I can do that and still keep it in my RRSP, so I don't lose the tax deferral.
Oh, look at you. See, you know more than you think you do.
I'm trying, Erin. I'm really trying.
Okay. So just so you know, I will not be taking my money out of the market. Now, this is me I'm not giving investment advice at all. Everybody needs to seek the advice of an independent financial planner to find out what's best for you. But I have invested when things were really horrible, and I've invested when things were really great, because what I've learned is that it's not about the timing of the market that matters. It's about my behaviors. The part that I can control is always the part that I have to do with money. So just like in the Get the Hell Out of Debt program, we would say, you can't control the economy, especially right before the pandemic. I remember I had a big meeting with everybody in the program, and I went on a live, and we were just talking about this with Rosanna the other day on a different podcast. And she says, I remember when you told us all after it was a 2-week lockdown, and you said, this is going to be 18 months. And so, I gave everybody that big lecture, but I continued to invest through that whole time while other people I know pulled their money out of the market. And I did very, very well. I continued, because I said the part that you can control is the amount that you put into the market, the contributions that you put into the market. Now you can control certainly by taking out, but we just don't know the timing of when to get back in. That's just the tricky part.
Yeah.
And so because I have a long time horizon, before I'm an old wrinkly raisin. I'm going to continue to just invest. Now that's my strategy, but there are other things that I will do to time the market. But for those mutual funds or those types of things, I'm just going to I'm going to dollar cost average, for lack of a better term. And I'm just going to keep buying. Now, you made such a great point there, which I think everybody needs to hear, as you said, but I'm not going to withdraw, because that's the part that freaked me out when you said, I'm going to pull my mutual funds out. I was about to say, what are they in? Because if they are in a 401k, if you're American, if they're in, your RSP, if you're Canadian, there are penalties when you take them out. So what you're saying is you're going to keep them in that little bucket. You're going to keep them in the RSP bucket. You're just going to convert the investment from a mutual fund to cash if you think that that's the right choice for you. And then buy back in later. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, though, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep doing mutual funds, because mutual funds are, I don't know how to put this delicately. They're like, they have high fee. I mean, they're not the best investment out there, but they're better than doing nothing. Like they're the sort of like the training wheels on the bike is what they are. But what I am going to do is pay attention to what the stock market does. And I'm going to time that as best as you know what I mean? I'm going to watch for deals in the stock market and do that kind of strategy over for independent stocks. But the mutual funds, which are managed by mutual fund managers who are way smarter than I am in most cases, they also get paid a lot more. They have to wear suits to work. I get to wear sweatpants to work. You know what I mean? There's those things to consider. Those ones I'm going to keep myself. But we talk about all this in phase 3 and Get the Hell Out of Debt. So you'll come to those calls.
Right.
In phase 3, we'll talk about those in more detail, and you'll decide for you, because you look at you're so much more financially literate than you even knew.
Well, I've tried over the last couple of years to learn some things, and I did do a little bit of investing even when I was still in debt. I kind of went against a few of the rules in the book.
Yeah.
Because there were things that piqued my interest, and I thought, if this is the worst way I blow $100, whatever, right?
Okay, and hear me. I don't necessarily think that you should not be investing. I would never say that, right? But you're right. If it was money you were going to blow and you were trying to decide, listen, should I drink a bottle of wine right now or take this $20 and put it in the market? I'm all for putting it in the market, right? If that was the choice of the dollars. Now, we want you to pay off debt as quickly as possible. And especially if you're listening to this podcast right now in 2022, we want you to get out of debt as soon as possible because of something called inflation, which we'll talk about later and in the program tons. But I just think it's really important that you recognize always like your own psychology when it comes to money, and how you did that, I think, is really beautiful. Because if you're going to learn, the best way to learn is by doing.
And like, I've made some big mistakes, don't get me wrong. I mean, not massive big mistakes that put me back in debt or anything, but I've lost some money for sure in the stock market. But what has been the most rewarding, I think, out of this whole thing, and I think if I would have followed all of your advice, I would have been finished it sooner. One was learning my behavior is that when things go wrong, I want to stick my head in the sand and just let time pass by. I don't care what's going on around. Time is just maybe it'll be next year and I'll wake back up and right.
You just made 50,000 friends from our listeners, because I know so many women that are like, yep, me too. Yep, me too. Yeah.
And as soon as, the universe always tests you. And so as soon as I did that month of selling something a day or making $1 a day, the next month, my car broke down, my washing machine broke, and my coffee maker cracked, all within the span of like 48 hours.
How did you prioritize between all those 3? Wow.
First? Car first was dealt with, and it ended up being a warranty recall thing. So it cost me $0 at the end of the day. Thank the good Lord. That was a major one, because I had people being like, well, I guess you're just going to have to go and get a new car and have a car payment again. And I was staunch in my beliefs, like, no way, I am not committing to anything. Oh my gosh, it wasn't happening. But it was amazing how many people, close people to me that have watched me go through this course, and they were like, wow. And then my washing machine, I figured out what was wrong with the help of a friend. And I found the part online, and I had somebody help me with the muscle stuff, but I did all the rest of the work myself, and I replaced my washing machine pump.
Amazing.
Yep. And I had an old coffee maker at work, and since Get the Hell Out of Debt started, I was no longer making coffees at work anymore, because that was just an extra cost that I eliminated. And so that coffee maker came home and was my coffee maker for home.
Oh, good.
It all got solved, but it was still like, that's where I really wanted to hide out. And yeah, wait it out. But the most interesting thing, I got off topic, my kids.
Mm.
My kids have been watching me do this for 2 years. So from their preteens to now teenager land, they both got part-time jobs this summer.
Oh, wow.
One did amazing right from the get-go because she's actually sat down with me for some of the Get the Hell Out of Debt courses and classes. And so we set her up with 2 accounts. She had a savings and her checkings, and she deposited money like all the time. And she was like, tickety boo. And then the younger one got herself a job this fall. And I said, hey, maybe we should just check, because I kind of just let her go. And let's just check your bank account. And I like, where did your money go? You have hardly anything. And so I had her sit down and I said, write the categories of where all your expenses have been for the last 30 days of this bank account and see. And so she had put as much money into her savings account as she had given to the school cafeteria and 7-Eleven. And I said,
yeah.
right? And I said, so what you're telling me is that 7-Eleven and you are on the same pedestal in your mind. Like, is 7-Eleven worth as much as you? Because I question this one. And that was 2 months ago. And since then, I don't know that she spent very much money, and she has padded up her savings account. It was a huge eye opener for her.
Wow. And so great, Dawn, that you're teaching them this now, because most people are well into adulthood before they even start to look at their money or pay attention.
Me, right?
Mm.
Heaven forbid they. And I think, this younger generation, they're in for it.
It's different. It's definitely different. Yes. Yeah. And they're growing up in inflationary times, so that's going to be challenging for them too. But it's so cool that you were very open with the journey. I do remember them participating, and I just have always watched you like not try and sugarcoat anything for them either, right? Like when it's hard, it's hard. When it's not, it's not. But we're going to like have a goal in mind. We're going to work towards it, even if it means it's only $1 a day. Like we're going to do as much as we can, because most people wouldn't. And when you talked about the car, the coffee maker, and the washing, was it washing machine or dryer?
Yeah, washing machine. Oh, my dryer went too, but I just didn't replace it. I thought I can hang clothes.
But see, most people though, that all of that combined would be a $50,000 hole further in debt.
Yeah.
And you just got really resourceful. And it doesn't mean like you can have a car payment again one day, sure, go for it. But let your investments, like the profit you make off your investments, pay that payment for you, so you don't have to trade your time for it, right? If you have a big bonus come into your life and you've got lots of cash flow, and your TFSA or your IRA or whatever's all maxed out, and you got lots of money going away, like absolutely treat yourself to a fancy coffee maker or something. Like, we don't want you to live in this state. Like sometimes people hear this and they think, oh gosh, like, do I have to live skimpy forever? And it's like, no. And in fact, you can do whatever you need to do. Like other people might've been like, you know what, I really want a brand new washer dryer, but I'm going to cut back in this other area here to make it happen. But the key is that resourcefulness. Like you decided, you called the shots. You decided, I'm not going to have a car payment. And if you didn't have a car payment on a car right now, you wouldn't be building wealth as quickly as you're going to be able to. So yeah, that ends up being a huge chunk of money. Yeah. So good. Okay. So why would you tell somebody, let's say you met somebody on the street who was like complaining, like, Dawn, I'm struggling. What would I do? What would you teach them?
I actually have a friend at the moment who has come to me asking, a little bit about this and what I thought. And so I said, like for me, it's been life-changing. There's a small sense of freedom I have now with, I could make different choices if I want to. Whereas before that wasn't a choice that I was going to be able to have. So where to start would just be figuring out where you are, right? You need to have a starting line to move from. And I think so many of us don't even know what that starting line looks like.
Yes, that's such a good point. Yeah, we know it's stressful, but we actually don't know the numbers. Or like your daughter, right? Like who's like, I don't know where it went. It went to 7-Eleven, I guess. Like it just disappeared.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and all the little reoccurring things, right? That you just don't think of. Like even now I'll look at my credit card bill and I'll be like, don't that iTunes, I forgot I bought that, I forgot I bought that album for $11.99.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it all adds up.
Yeah, it does. It all adds up. So yeah, knowing, and then I think the thing that was most helpful for me too, and I've started doing this again now this year, is I'm tracking every single expense that I do, and then I'm categorizing them at the end of every month. So I know how much I'm spending on grocery, fuel, extra stuff, bills, mortgage, whatever, because then I have a really good idea for what I need to be budgeting for. I don't like to budget, and I forget sometimes, like I forget I have a day planner sometimes, like 3 days go by and I'm like, oh, wait a second, I have one of those.
But isn't it so much more fun to budget when you're building wealth? Like,
Yes.
it's so much more fun now. And what's
Yeah.
interesting though, is you have to do it while you're in debt in order to get to the place where it's fun and it's easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, good for you.
It's even tricky now. Like I'm a little bit fearful. As soon as I got out of debt, I'm fearful to spend money. I'm fearful to, like, I think it's such a slippery slope to be like, oh yeah, this shirt's only $10. Easy. Like I said, I'm a sucker for a deal. So if I feel like it's a deal, I could spend $10 and
Right.
think I was getting a great deal. But it's still $100 at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's such a good point that the fear around the spending, now that's going to change, of course, as you start to build wealth, you get less fearful. But in the beginning, it's like you're so used to not trusting yourself with money, and you've worked so hard, and now finally you hit the target that you hit. And if we don't quickly like set a new goal or look forward to something else, we will unconsciously undo some of the work that we've done. We see that happen all the time. But that's why we say that there's a third phase, and it's the wealth building phase. It doesn't just end at phase 2.
No, and it did kind of end at phase 2 a little bit for me, in terms of I'll let go of being so strict with my spending. Like I had a pretty strict budget for Christmas and I wasn't going to go over that. And people really listened to me this year in terms of the things they got me. My celebration for getting out of debt is going to be to get my car detailed. So it feels like a new to me car. But other things came up, winter tires, kids stuff, whatever. And I just haven't been able to let myself spend that money quite yet, because I have a new financial goal of my emergency fund. So I'm more focused on that. But I was gifted a car detailing for Christmas because that's how good somebody knew me.
Wow.
And it's just amazing. So now I get to buy my new windshield and get a car detailing, and then I'll be like a brand new vehicle.
That's fun. That's so cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see you. If you put in the amount of work that you put in the last couple of years into the wealth building phase, and you're still so young, Dawn, you're so young. So you've got like such a cool retirement ahead of you, because you're like, and for your girls, like who they'll be out of the house in 10 years or so.
Less.
Gosh. Oh gosh, let's not talk about that.
So
Anyway.
fast.
But you'll be able to travel to meet them places, or you'll be able to, like, depending on where they want to do post-secondary, or if they have grandkids or whatever, you're going to have so many choices available that you wouldn't have otherwise had. So this isn't like a miracle just for you. It's also for them, which is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for your time today. I so appreciate all the wonderful wisdom that you gave everybody in this, and how real you are about talking about all this kind of stuff. Because I think that
I'm pretty real.
I think it's important. I think it's right. Like the sort of feeling I get, the vibe out in the world, is that people don't want to talk about money. They just want to make it look like they have some. They don't actually necessarily have it, but they want it to look that way.
Yeah.
And it creates all kinds of problems in the way we talk to each other or relate to each other, or the way we can actually help each other when we're hurting. Because if you can't admit that you're struggling financially, it's really hard to get help. So it's very cool that you're just open and honest about this. And we're going to have you on the podcast in a couple of years when you've sail in on your yacht. And you're like, I'm here, Erin, and I'll come record it on your yacht with you or whatever.
I'll be living in my like 200 acres of land on my farm with my animals.
As soon as I said yacht, I was like, this is not her at all. There'll be chickens, like it'll be,
There will be chickens.
chicken.